Well, awesome. Well, thank you for, covering, what has happened recently with those banks. Kind of jump into the next topic here. What should we expect to see in terms of other banks? Is there a likelihood of other banks failing in the next, year or 2 year?
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see that there's just this massive inherent risk out in the banking system right now, right? We've just come through a pandemic in which capital was really easy to access. I know that there's some folks concerned about maybe some credit quality just with the tightening economy, and that's certainly a factor. What we're not worried about really is other banks following the same um, path to failure that we saw at Silicon Valley Bank. Like I said, there are some really unique factors of Silicon Valley Bank and the percentage of uninsured deposits and the social media role that took place here that drove this bank failure. Those characteristics are not present in other institutions. You also just look overall, bank losses are extremely low right now, right? Banks have done really well over the last couple of years. Customers have been able to access throughout the pandemic era, low cost capital to refinance maybe some of their riskier loans, pull down rates. We really are going into even this recessionary period that we might be entering. We're really going into it from a position of strength. That doesn't mean there won't be some hiccups along the way. Doesn't mean that there won't be some challenges to bank performance, but I really don't see in any way, shape, or form, Cal, that we're poised for bank failures. Certainly not like we were back in 2008, 2009, when we saw a lot of banks, particularly in the Southeast, Georgia, start to fail just based on how quickly they'd come into the market in the years preceding that financial crisis.
All right, thank you. So, um, is there any banks in the nation that you see as being a risk, and is that mine? Like, how can I check to see if my bank is healthy, kind of financially, or what are some signs that I should look for there?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think one of the things I would caution is going out and trying to read bank financial reports without a real incredible understanding of how banks work. Right? That actually, when you get down to it, is a misreading of some conditions that were going on at Silicon Valley Bank is what caused the hysteria to begin with.
Mm.
So, I guess the question I would ask is, do you have a relationship with your banker? Right? Do you feel confident enough? Go find a bank where you feel like you can walk into the bank president's office and say, tell me why I shouldn't be worried about your bank. Right? I know that sounds outlandish and crazy to a lot of bank customers, but that's the type of relationship we see at community banks. In fact, if you walk into most community banks, you find that the bank president has an office with a window that opens straight out to the lobby. In most banks, they call it kind of the fishbowl, right? The reason is not just so the bank president can see who's coming and going from the bank, but more importantly, so the customers can see and know that that bank president is there, is actively engaged in the management of the bank. And that's what I'd encourage, right? Is go find that bank that you can talk to the banker about why you should be confident in that financial institution.
Awesome. Well, that's some great advice. Yeah, I do think it is very important to be able to go talk to your banker and community banker. It seems like that's one of the largest advantages to a community bank, versus a big bank. So is it is it healthy for some banks to occasionally fail, or is that
I don't know if it's healthy for them to fail or not. It's definitely it's a reality we see, right? It's never a good situation for depositors when a bank fails, even if those depositors are made whole. Just the uncertainty and the stress, right, that it introduces in the life. The entire idea of the banking system is predicated on risk, right? And there's insured deposits, there's loans. You're trying to balance liquidity, capital, all these different components that go into it that get highly technical very quickly. Uh, when you have a bank failure, you have had a significant mismanagement of risk, right? In most cases, barring extraordinary circumstances, right? Whether you uh, agree with maybe the criticism of regulators or not in the situation of Silicon Valley Bank, there was outsized risk at that institution. The outsized risk was the uninsured deposits and the unique, highly connected nature of those depositors. Right, that when a bank run started, it exploded quickly, right? Anytime there's a bank failure, there is a mismanagement of risk that is significant, barring fraud or other things that would go on. So it's not healthy, right? In a normal circumstance, you may have ups and downs. You might have bank performance go up and down with some uh, tightening and loosening of economic conditions. But really, in a well managed bank, you should never have uh, uh, you should never be towing up to the line of failure.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's probably a management issue in terms of mismanaging the risk and the management team of that bank that's causing that problem. So,
Absolutely.
well, that's enough about bank failures. That's the gross side.
Yeah. Let's move on from that.